What's
they
up,
got
y'all?
that last part of you.
I'm dying. What's up, y'all? Thursday's Thoughts, episode 5. Uh, all right. So we got the Christ Slayer. We got the Forget the Nick. We got the Sleepy the Panda 31. Y'all want to say hi?
Or just Panda. Yeah. What's up?
What is poppin'?
The award-winning group.
The award-winning group. Yeah. All right. This episode 5, is about the semifinals for the Cleety Cup. We're gonna go over the two games: RGB versus Trashenberg, and then Valeris versus the Lords. Cool little fun fact: RGB and Trashenberg. We got RGB's very own Panda, and we got Trashenberg's very own Forget Nick. So I set it up for a fight in the chat. JK. All right. So first. Our first game's the RGB versus Trashenberg. Yo, Panda, what does RGB stand for?
Well, that is for season 3, you know.
Tell me it's
That's
not.
for season
in
3 to
my
find
dream.
out.
To be honest,
Tune in.
I think I have to have that conversation with Sky, so we gotta figure out.
You don't know what it
means.
stands for?
Red, green,
It's act-
blue? Like,
Red,
Yeah,
green,
it's red,
blue.
green, blue.
Red, green, blue. Yeah, red, green, blue.
It's real gamer boys. That's what I said last time. I'm gonna stamp that.
Oh,
real gaming voice.
Real gamer boys. So game 1.
Wait, you're not gonna
What's
ask Nick what Trachtenberg stands for?
I asked him
Well,
last
that's
episode. He
exactly.
said he
I
didn't
don't know what
know.
it means.
Yeah. I either asked him last episode or like last time when we were preparing for last episode. You don't even know how to pronounce it, do you? No, I'm kidding.
Nope.
Yo,
I
it just
didn't
said
put
you started
sugar on my
broadcasting. Guess what? Oh, I didn't set my timer. This is gonna be a bad episode. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Alright, so
Oh my god,
game
right
of-
off the bat.
So RGB beat Full Senders, and Trashenberg beat Onslaught Gaming to get into the semifinals. Panda, you were there for the Full Senders game, weren't you?
Yeah, I played that series.
That was intense, wasn't it?
Very sweaty. Very sweaty.
Yeah. No, it's wild. Like, we were all surprised. Like, Full Senders didn't like the end. We thought Full Senders was gonna take it.
Well, honestly, we just made a couple adjustments. I mean, our rotations throughout the season was kind of meh. So, like 5 days pertaining to, we just kind of got together and just started, private matching each other and just trying to figure out what our rotations are going to be like.
No, that's dope. I like to hear that. So for this game, we got RGB with Skrilla, Bronska, Balt, and then Panda. You were spectating, and then for Trashenberg we had David, Forget Nick, and then Alpha York. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
All right, and then Rhea came in like I think it was like game 4 or 5. So very beginning of game 1, David opens it up with a demo on Vault, and then it's very clear that Ronska is ready for that hard carry, very early in game 1. No, it was pretty interesting. Do you guys have any comments on game 1? Do you remember what was going on?
Yo, shout out Skrilla.
Yeah, you forgot
That was-
Skrill.
That man was making the plays.
I mean, that's at the end of the notes, not at the beginning.
You already shouted out everybody that was in game 1. Oh no. Shout out Skrilla. Skrilla stole my breath away.
What do you mean? I shouted out everybody.
He
Skrilla,
literally
Ronska,
stole my breath away. With how
Stole
he
your
played
breath away?
in that game. Yeah. That man was killing it.
It was pretty lit. Yeah, Skrilla was killing it. Vault was pretty good too.
I think-
Not gonna lie, I don't think I've seen Vault before, like in a game. I mean, I probably have, but like he didn't stand out that much. But this game he definitely did, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say Skrilla definitely. I think he had the best game of his career with the league so far, and like that was a tough opponent nonetheless. Like he's had some easier games, big stage, playoff situation, must-win situation. That man really showed out for his team.
No, I can agree with that. Um, so RGB, y'all had the lead at the beginning at game 1 with your 4-1 on Trashenberg. Panda, what were you thinking spectating that game? Were you feeling pretty strong at that moment?
Yeah, I mean, they were working well. They were rotating. They were communicating. Because I was in the party, communication was at a good high. Bronska's, calling the shots, making sure that everyone's rotating properly. So that being said as well, he's also making the calls of someone follow up when he's setting up the play, and obviously Skrill would be there or Ball. But
So he's kind of like
communicating.
giving a play-by-play in the party for all y'all?
The way it works is usually he'll just say, I'm going, I got it, and then whoever's second will follow up with him to make sure that, because he was spoon feeding setups to, Skrill and Bolt, and Skrill and Bolt were just adjusting really well.
Yeah, the word for it is sexy, if you ask me. What was it like in your party? What was it like in your party, Nick?
It was actually.
were you guys
a
not-
nightmare. So like,
Yeah.
we didn't plan on playing against Skrilla or Bolt. We were like, oh okay, we got Panda. He's pretty, free low. But and like even when we watched the old clip against Full Senders just to see what was going on and like what we can expect.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
And
you told me that.
when Kuro and Panda didn't show up, we were like, oh, so like all of that was for nothing because now we know what Bronska does, but that's it.
It's almost like, did you guys plan that, Panda? Or are you not at the liberty to disclose that?
No, we can. So what we started doing is we do a private 6-mans with the whole team. With the whole team, there's only 5, so we bring in like one person from the Discord. And Ronsko just kind of observes who's meshing best with each other, who's playing well that day. And we actually brought in Peanut into that lobby, so it like.
Is he a prospect or a player on another team?
He's a prospect. He's a Grand Champ prospect, so it amped up the gameplay. So put us in situations kind of like what playoffs would put us in. So Bronsko's just observing, and he made the choice that Skrill and Bolt were working well together, and as well as Skrill, Bolt, and Ronsko himself.
Just a bad
That's
day.
I mean,
nice.
it's part of the
I
game.
like that.
Yeah. So for me, as far as like playing time, hey, you beat me out fair and square, respect, man. Like, I'm your teammate. I'll support. I'm not gonna be salty or anything. I'm just gonna support you and keep you going.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So moving on to game 2, back to Ronska again. Literally, first few seconds of game 2, Ronska's really showing off his knowledge of the game. He's showing off some card control and patience, 2 separate things that mesh well together. He was in an awkward spot on the field, but he was waiting for the ball to come his way, and then he did some interesting maneuvers with his car, which is the card control. So Balt though, he makes a shot, and he had like literally the whole opposing team in the goal. Do you remember that, Nick? Game 2?
Like it's gonna be bad if I say no.
No, that's fair. It was these are best of. I apologize, everyone. These are best of 7 games for the semifinals. So it's 5-minute matches, best of 7, and both of these matches went all the way up to the 7th round. So Nick, it is not surprising that you don't remember the beginning of it, because these were intense too, and then y'all ran down the clock. Ooh, I almost tripped. A con for David though. It looked like David was really ball chasing. Can you do you agree with that? In the second game, you think David was a little ball hungry?
So definitely that was a big issue. Even in our comms, it was sort of like, I don't know, they had such stress to win that everyone wasn't really focusing.
Yeah. Which is
And like,
honestly where it kind of, I could say might have been where it fell apart, because at game 2, already stressing, that's not good, right?
well, of course. But it's just one of those, like, usually David's like the sort of like how Ronska is, like he'll set up the plays and tell us, like someone should follow.
Hmm.
But he sort of felt like he was just rushing every play and he wanted to be the one to score. He has
Hmm.
some like vendetta against RGB.
No, that's awesome. Competition is great. Do you have anything to say on that, Panda?
Um, I know that he was there to counter a lot of our, trying to break it out of our zone.
Hmm.
He did counter a lot of our offensive attacks.
Hmm.
But I mean, I was more or less paying attention to our side of things, making sure we're rotating well.
No, of course.
So like yeah, last game I was more of like yeah, good job, keep that up. Don't forget to rotate. Calling out, like making sure that they're good, that they stay positive. So that was more or less what I was focused on as far as watching the game and making sure everything's good.
So you're saying that you were spectating and just making sure that your teammates were staying on top of rotations and staying positive?
Yeah, mainly staying positive. Because obviously, if
Hmm.
you're in the party, like, I'm not trying to over talk the people who are actually playing.
Hmm.
So, that being said, I did notice like a lot of the shots came from Forget Nick and David towards the end of the series. And so the moment that Rhea came in, everyone knew that the speed of the game is gonna increase. So
Hmm.
mentally, I had to be there like, we got this, okay, it's just, Rhea is speedy, but Skrill's very speedy himself, so I just have to make sure that he can
Yeah, of course.
put put that securing wall of confidence.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned rotations, because that's actually in my notes that the RGB versus Trashenberg game, as early as game 2, everyone's having very healthy rotations. It doesn't seem like anyone was lacking in where they were or were not supposed to be, what have you. So at the end of game 2, RGB, y'all take the win again, and it is a 2-1 against Trashenberg. And then we'll just move on to game 3. Before we get started, do you guys remember anything from game 3? Any comments?
I am not too not too familiar yet because it was like you said, it's a lot of games.
Yeah, I actually have it written down that game 3 was my favorite game for this match, specifically for the overtime shot. But what happens is, Skrilla was taking a lot of ceiling shots, correct?
That sounds more like Robska.
Really?
I actually just threw
Yeah.
Ronska under the bus there.
Well, no,
That's funny.
because Ronska's more familiar with the ceiling shots. Skrilla's good at getting the ball in the air quicker or quickly. I think
Mhm.
because I know Ronska's more comfortable with the ceiling shots.
I know game 3 opened up with this really cool, and these are all basic tricks that I see, but it's just like watching how fluid the car moves, especially compared to like some of our prospects, or more specifically how I play or my friends play. I watched Balt, and they were running up on him, and he had the ball, and he did this like beautiful backflip, side flip at the same time, and like kept the ball with him, and then took it to the other side. I thought that was like that was beautiful. It was beautiful. Um, it really seemed like Ronska was also ball chasing this game. But with what you were saying, if he's like the guy that sets up the shots, would that not make sense?
Well, he was the aggressor, you could say, and I think that was okay with Skrill and Balt because he could read the play a little bit better than all of us. So we just adjusted to it, and it's not like he was aggressing the first time. Skrill would take his shot at and say, "All right, I'll push," and then Balt even had a couple pushes there. But
No,
as
definitely.
far as like Ronska pushing majority of the time, it's like we're most comfortable because we know that he could set it up or put it in the net. One of the two.
There was this one shot that y'all got where Skrilla and Ronska ran up on the right side of the field, but they were like just, I guess you could say, inches to feet away from each other, so they were really tight. But they ran up and got us. I think it was a corner shot. I thought that was pretty cool. You think that comes down to planning, or more just existing teamwork? How do you guys pull that kind of stuff off?
It's on it. Like I hate to say the rotation, but it falls on the rotation. So if the guy, mainly the way that we put it is if the guy messes up, you rotate out, and the second one coming in is going to be the one that re-fortify. So
That's nice
he
to know.
called it out. It's like yeah, he called it out that he didn't have it, and then Skrull came in really quick.
No, that's really cool. So this game was tied up, and it was less than 10 seconds left. And Nick, you went to take a shot, but you missed, and then the game got thrown into overtime. After that, I guess in the middle of the overtime, you could say, David went to take a shot, misses, and then it's kind of back to the standstill of overtime. And then right after that, this is why it was my favorite. I guess it was my favorite moment of y'all's game. David runs the ball up the left side, and then launches it to Alpha. Alpha sets it up in the middle for Nick. You take it from the right side, from Alpha, and get the goal in the overtime. That was pretty lit. You remember that, Nick?
I mean, like, we definitely remember that going on, but at the same time, like, that match was such a mess with all, like, the misses, and we had a lot of miscommunications.
No, of course. I think that was your only overtime, though. Am I? Yes, correct. Unless you remember otherwise. Nah, it was just really awesome.
Are you talking about just for that series?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was just wondering because you said they're only overtime, and they did go in the over. I thought it was really interesting that they went to overtime in both their playoff games.
Well, Valaris and Lord. Oh, you mean RGB did?
No, Trachtenberg did. They went into overtime in their match against Onslaught, and they went into overtime in their match against RGB.
I feel like overtime is. It's hard.
We lost. Hey, Danger, your mic's
Bring a
completely
game
cut out.
over.
Danger,
each
your
other's
mic's
throats.
completely cut out.
My mic's messing up.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a second and have me rejoin the party? Think that'd help?
Sure, I can hear you now.
Alright, let me just not move. Hopefully this will work. Let me know if anything goes wrong. I apologize, everybody.
No, we're back. We can hear you now.
So, so game, just to cut game 3 short. Game 3 ended with Trachtenberg with a W, and it was a 3-2 win, keeping y'all from getting shut out. We move on to game 4. So, really cool moment for game 4. David puts the ball on the net, and I literally saw a whole bunch of shots like this between the 2 semifinal games. The ball was in the net, but the score wasn't made. It wasn't far enough in the net, but it was still far enough in the net to where it was in the net, if that makes sense. But what happens is David put it in there. I guess David expected the shot or something, and what happens is it falls out somehow between David or Skrilla hitting it, and then Skrilla gets this cool demo on David in net. I thought that was pretty cool, pretty interesting to watch. Now, and that ball actually ended with you, Nick, you and Ronska swapped ball steals. So within the last few moments, one of you stole the ball from the other one, and then y'all got the... I apologize. Ronska stole the ball from you, you stole the ball from Ronska. And then that's what ended the game right there, with the RGB with the 2 and Trachtenberg with 0. RGB pulling away with the game 4 W. Now, do you have any comments on that, either of y'all?
I think our mentality was, let's get this game under our belt so that we can put the pressure on Trotch. So it was really important for us to win that game 3 so that we could come into the next game with a little bit more confidence and put in the pressure on the other team.
Going for jungle buff.
And I guess like on our side, our morale was like real low.
I'm sorry, I disconnected and then rejoined, so I heard basically nothing.
I was wondering why there was dead silence.
Yeah, it said that y'all three were connecting, and then when y'all three connected, then it said I was connecting.
Great work.
I don't know. All I did was stand up, but you know, Thursday's thoughts. What can I say? I guess I'll just skip to game 5 unless y'all have more to say about that.
Game
I
5
think the more important games, yeah, because that's where it started turning a little bit.
Definitely, because that's when Rhea got switched in for Alpha, and as y'all said earlier, Rhea definitely manually pushed the pace of the game to a faster pace. Can you agree with that, Nick?
Yeah, definitely.
Astounding performance.
Now,
Great work.
David gets. It was in these games that there were a few own goals, but a lot of them were just, I guess, accidents that would have ended up as goals. So what I mean to say is it would be someone going for the shot, and then the opposing team trying to defend their own net would accidentally own goal them. But what I'm getting at is in a lot of these situations, if that opposing team member wasn't there to defend their goal, the shot would have still had been made. It would not have been an own goal. It would have just been a normal goal. But excluding that, David gets this really cool own goal on Ronska. I'm sure Ronska was really hurt because Ronska's just like rushing up there to try to get the defense, and then it just bounces off the nose of his car right into the goal. What was comms like, Panda? Was Ronska really frustrated with himself when he was own goaling?
I think that own goal came from Bolt on just trying to recover because it was headed towards the net on the right side, right?
Mm-hmm.
After that shot, and it had a really weird bounce right along the post.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Bolt that I'm pretty sure it was Bolt that went up for it, and then the way that he played it, it just kind of bounced off the nose. I mean, it got a little quiet, but we just kind of worked through it. They said, they recollected, and obviously, everyone's like, sorry, my fault, and everyone, no big deal. Let's keep looking forward to it. Keep going.
You just like moved on from it.
Yeah.
That's good. That's healthy. Now there was this one shot where Bolt and Nick, y'all collided, and the ball went straight up, and then Skrilla takes the shot. I thought that was pretty interesting. It honestly, I mean, I don't think that would have happened if it weren't for y'all fighting over the ball, but that's like what you're supposed to do. So it was really just an opportune moment that Skrilla took from, I guess, both of you fighting over the ball. I thought it was pretty interesting. So game 5 goes to Trashenberg, 5 points to RGB's 2. And then we move on to the end of the RGB versus Trashenberg with game 6. So Ronska takes this really...
Game 7, right?
Oh, yeah,
it went to 6. Did it?
It went to 7.
Yeah, it went to 7.
Yeah,
Damn, I was in the game, I didn't even know.
Yeah, both these games went to 7. I wasn't thinking. Game 6. Now, I mean, it was game 6. Just to cut it short. Trashenberg got 1 point. RGB got 0. So this is really when it was like, it was up to you guys to really pull through, right, Panda?
Well, Game 6 was Trashenberg. Game 5 was Trashenberg's first opportunity to close out the series, right? Or was that Game 6?
It was game 6.
Game 6 was their Trashenberg's first chance to win it all.
Yeah. First 2 games went to RGB. Third game went to Trashenberg. Fourth game went to RGB. Fifth game went to Trashenberg. Sixth game went to Trashenberg. And then it came down to the last game. Sixth game was pretty cool though, because it was actually like 0-0 for like 95% of the game. Were you guys like biting nails?
From what I've heard, from what I was listening to in the party, they were just making sure they were communicating. Because when it's a 0-0 game like that, it comes down to who messes up first. You know what I mean? Who makes the first mistake? Because you know, at the pace that that series was playing, whoever makes a mistake, if you make a mistake, you know, obviously the other team will recognize it and they'll find a way to punish you for it.
So, all right. Now, give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
So
Alright,
what
I
I saw.
apologize.
Okay.
Go on.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I'm sorry, my phone was going off. I had something preoccupying me. Now, I'll just skip to Game 7 because Game 6 was really. Or did you have something to say on Game 6 of Willits?
No, I didn't have anything. I was just wondering who had the opportunity to end, who missed out on the opportunity. It was RGB though, right?
What were we going to say, Panda?
I was just agreeing. It was
Yeah, I mean, you guys got it done in the long run. That's all that matters. I actually gave, in my opinion, the clutch trait kind of went towards Nick and David a little bit more, especially after Nick's like no second goal that he had in their match against Onslaught, I believe, is how they won. Nick got the goal with no time on the clock. Just that right there kind of told me that they had a bit more of an aggressive mindset to finish out games, which is where we've seen some teams struggle in the playoffs. It's just, you know, we saw we hit those go up 2-0 on Valeris and then fall behind the rest of the series. Like, we do see that for whatever reason. It's been semi-common in the playoffs. So
Whoa, okay,
see-
Valeris is a whole new topic. Hold on.
to see RGB close out a game where they had the lead in the series, that is nice to see, because like I said, we're seeing it really often in the playoffs right now where teams have somewhat of a lead. Onslaught had a 2-0 lead on Trashenberg. Valeris had we hit those had a 2-0 lead on Valeris. I think the Lords had a lead on Valeris by 2-0 in their series as well. And all 3 of those games, the team that had the 2-0 series at the beginning lost. RGB is one of the few games where we've seen them take the 2-0 series, have it get drawn out to Game 7 or Game 5, whatever the scenario is, and actually hold on to their win.
Mm-hmm.
So that's big props to RGB. That's big props. Like I said, I gave Trashenberg to be the more clutch team, but that's big props to RGB, getting a lead and holding on to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Game 7, now, it was a 3-2 at Game 7. RGB, y'all pulled out through the very end, and then y'all got the W. Overall, the whole RGB versus Trashenberg game, I have to say that there was definitely a lot of demos this game. Now, you would say there's usually someone dedicated to demos, correct, Nick?
On our team?
Yeah, well, it's part of the rotations, is it not?
It depends, sort of, because so for some of our games, it's sort of we don't really need it, but when we watch the VOD for RGB, we notice that, you know, they don't handle demos really well, and they also don't demo very much, so we try to do that just to sort of get an advantage in that set anyways.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
So how big
Panda, do you have a retort?
Has been slain.
Oh, go on.
What's that?
Do you have something to say on that?
Oh, I mean, he's right in the sense of we don't really focus demos. Um, so the demos were important because it took us out of rotation. It's just a matter of how we can adjust rotation to those demos, and yeah, we didn't have a lot of experience with who's next in whenever someone gets demoed. So it definitely changed the game a lot as far as taking one person out of the rotations.
No, of course, it really does change the how the pace is going for whatever team receives the demo. Because as you said, rotations just continue if you have all three of your players. Um, David and Nick, y'all were definitely like MVPs of your team, if you ask me at least. And then I had it written down, Vanska and Skrilla, they're definitely taking a lot of ceiling shots. Now, would you say ceiling shot is a more advanced maneuver, Panda?
Nice hunt. Bye.
Um,
Good luck out
I
there.
don't think it is like one of the more out of normal,
Mm-hmm.
mechanics. But as far as practicing it, you can learn it pretty easily,
Mm-hmm.
and it also kind of throws off defense, gives it a hard read to where you're gonna shoot it if you do get it off at a right angle.
No, of course. And it's always nice to see, I guess, out of the ordinary shots, moves, what have you. Do you guys have any closing comments before we move on to the next game?
It's a good series, good to watch, good to hear.
I'm
No,
just sad I
definitely.
didn't get to
Games
play
up.
Panda.
You
That's all I wanted.
So
Panda,
real
you think
quick,
you're going to be playing the next game?
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So real quick though, so we did just go over the Onslaught Conference semifinals. The Lords Conference semifinals, we did get to see Valeris take on the Lords. I wanted to get some thoughts back on that, guys. How did you guys feel about losing, or how you guys feel about the Lords losing to Valeris? Did anybody see that coming? Do you guys feel momentum was going that way? Thoughts?
I honestly thought it was going to be in the Lord's favor just because of their track record throughout the season. Watching them sweep full centers, watching them, put up a good fight against Cryptic early in the season. I honestly thought, it was going to be like a big challenge for Valeris. Not to saying that it wasn't, but Valeris definitely, I think the key player there was Bubba in the sense of getting the bumps and the demos right along their rotations to throw them off.
Yeah, and he was
I think that was
defensively
one thing I noticed.
all over the place, challenging shots, getting some really clutch saves in goal. Uh, and I actually personally felt that Scott Ace is what made all the difference that game. Bubba, you kind of know what you're getting. You're getting a high tier player. Tayfish, you're getting a player that can play well, not all the time, but he can get hot and play well. Scott Ace, I think, was really the difference maker. I think he had a total of 4 goals on that series, which is more than he had on the season. But I think if he doesn't step up, if he doesn't actually like be the aggressor in some of the situations, because you notice earlier in the season, just like you see with some players or prospects now, when people get out rotated or they feel like they're outpaced, they just sit back around goal, and that is not going to win you games. So it was really nice to see him, even though I think he's D3 in a game where there's a Champ 2 player, a Champ 3 player. Fluffy's in Champ 1-ish range as well. So like, I'm sure he felt a little outgunned there, but the fact that he came in and followed up, that was great to see from Scott A's. I also want to give a big shout out to Tayfish, because if he didn't become available when he did, his team would not be in where they are. They needed Tayfish. As controversial as he can be sometimes, he was the difference maker as well. Those two players specifically. Bubba couldn't do it all alone. Bubba had Scott Ace for most of the season. Tayfish and Scott Ace though, those guys, there's no knock on Bubba at all. Obviously, it's one of my favorite players there. The man ran the team, but I think they don't win if Tayfish isn't on fire for that game and Scott Ace isn't stepping up to fill the shoes.
Hmm. Now, Valaris, they went up against, yeah, we hit those. last last game, and
No,
then obviously they got the W.
that
But
was in round 1. Last game was against the Lords.
The game
well,
before the
yeah,
Lord Slayer
yeah,
town.
Gotcha.
yeah. No, but the Lords came off the bye week. You think the bye week hurt them?
Being rusty, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. I'm gonna say whether it was actually being rusty or everybody just took the week off, so nobody was like actually practicing or communicating. I don't know, but I think it plays in for sure.
Hmm.
See, and like I disagree with that because they were all in 6-mans. So like I don't
Mhm.
think that they were actually rusty, but I don't know what was going on with that team during this match, but they played beyond sloppy.
The
Were they
Lords or
queuing?
Valars?
Were they queuing
The
together in six
Lords.
mans?
Yeah.
I don't know if they queued together, but they were always in there like looking for people.
Let's say if they weren't queuing together, that could also been it.
No, that's interesting. Um, I didn't know this, but Tayfish came from the Lords. Chris and I came from Valars, so it was like
Yeah.
teams with Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Fluffy got this shot where Tayfish chose not to use his boost and lost the defensive opportunity, I guess. What do you think was going through Tayfish's mind? Do you think he just wasn't? He thought he was gonna get it, didn't need his boost.
It's really hard to give an opinion on that situation because there's a lot of variables that come into effect based off of where he was, where the ball was, where his teammates positioning,
Hmm.
etc., etc.
Oh, that's definitely fair. Um, well, the Lords won the first game, 6-2 with Valaris with the two. Beyond that, game two went to Valars with the 3-2. So it definitely, when I was watching that game, from game one, I really thought that it was in the bag for the Lords. But the second Valars got the W in game two, it really kind of, I guess, changed my mind. It kind of opened a door. Uh, can you guys agree with that? Did you guys think, what were you guys thinking at the beginning? You guys thought it was just going to be a shutout?
I think it was gonna be like a majority win. I think all
Mm-hmm.
of us were expecting the Lords to
Blow them out.
bring that. Yeah, well, not that, but to bring the pace of, like a full sender cryptic pace, because they were capable of playing at that pace. You know what I mean?
It
Yeah.
just
With
No,
did
I
not
with
show.
agree.
Valaris, yeah, with Valaris, we didn't know what to expect from them, and I'm not
Mhm.
not hating on them or anything, but it was just like like I said, from the track record of the season, you know,
Mhm.
and just like how Willix puts it, 3-7 versus I don't know what the record
Nine
was,
and one.
9-1. You're expecting the 9-1 team to really put and set the tone of the whole series. So that first game being 6-2, you were expecting the Lords to keep carrying on that pace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really really crazy to see them just slowly like lose their grip on the series. I'm not sure what was happening. It had to be, in my opinion, it had to be a calm issue. Uh, I just don't see how you can come out so strong and then just get outplayed purely. Like I think they had better talent, and that's no diss to Valeris at all. I just think there's more talent on the Lords at that time. I
Mhm.
just something had to be going on behind the scenes to cause them to slip so much, in my opinion.
You gotta wonder what it'd be, honestly. Being I guess you could say spectator for all this, because I can agree with that. There was something behind the scenes, because exactly what you said. The Lords just had on paper they just had more talent, you know.
So,
It's funny though.
did
Mhm.
you get the chance to cover Bubba's goal or his save? Bubba's save. I'm so sorry. I doesn't say goal block.
Mm,
Bubba had a save that's kept
you
the
talking about while it
entire
was in the
series
net?
alive. The save that he had kept the entire series alive. I believe it was in Game 5, it may have been in Game 6. But there is like a wide open shot. It looked like a gimme shot, and Bubba came out of nowhere to get the clutchest save to keep the team alive.
That was game 6 that you're talking about, but there was also one in game 2, which is kind of cool because I mentioned earlier that there was a handful of those where the ball was in net and
Well,
then somehow
yes,
it's not in net.
but specifically Game 2 didn't matter. Game 2 of a best of 7 series doesn't matter. Game 5, when the series could end, that's big. You know, like if Bubba doesn't get that goal, they're eliminated. Lords are going to the finals. End of story. Bubba got that
Yeah.
save though, and now we're talking about Valeris going to the finals, not the Lords. That's why that's such a bigger goal in my opinion than a goal that happened or a save that happened in Game 2.
No, of course, that makes sense. It's funny that I mean, just to add on to game 2 before I move on, Valaris actually held on to that W off a double commit. Because if it weren't for that, they had a shot, they had a moment in the game where they double committed, and if it weren't for that, they wouldn't have tied up the game and then eventually gotten their additional point for the 3-2 W. Moving on to game 3. Uh, Valaris' rotation is kind of sluggish in game 3. It really was sluggish game 1, 2, and 3, and then just on and off. It really seemed. I remember we were talking about Tayfish. It seemed like Tayfish was having connection issues or something. He would, I guess, be inches away from hitting the ball, whether it was a block or a shot, and it seemed like it could have just been a connection issue where on his screen he's doing something, but in the actual reality,
He didn't have bad ping. He did not have bad ping. That was not a connection issue. He was
He
just
did
missing
not.
the shots.
oh, all right.
Savage.
I mean,
you actually just have to throw him under the bus like that.
I got to. No, I got to because like there are players in the league that do miss their shots from ping, so it's not fair to them to just be like, oh yeah, ping's the reason why this guy's missing his shots. He was just really sloppy. Now I'm a slight fan of Tayfish. I think you tone down the attitude, I'd be a bigger fan. But like that's what it's almost like a better striker. Or I can't remember who I was comparing striker to the other day. But that's kind of how I would compare Tayfish as far as the play style goes. It's very like raw. He can do a lot more than Striker can. He plays a lot faster than Striker can. Striker's one of our prospects, by the way, guys. But
Whoa. Okay, hold up. I'm gonna stop you right there. I played with Striker, and I'm gonna have to disagree. I feel like Striker is way better than Tayfish.
really,
I would have to agree with Nick. Yeah, I think.
Well, okay,
mechanically
that's
and
biased. Aren't you
foundationally-
his roommate?
Yeah, but I've played with both at the same
wait,
time.
wait, hear me out.
But I
hear
mean,
me out.
yeah.
So obviously rank doesn't mean everything, but Tayfish had Champ 2 rewards. To my knowledge, Striker hasn't broken Champ yet.
Oh, yeah.
He's there.
Yeah, like I said, I don't believe that like rank per se means anything, but it's just like I said, I feel like because Tayfish hasn't been available, he's slept on by a lot of teams.
I don't know. I'm definitely teaming up with Striker here. I think he's definitely more reliable as a player. He actually hits things. No hate on Fish, but I mean like if you whiff that much, I'm gonna have to go with Striker.
If you just want to take us into like game 5,
Yeah, yeah.
We just
Uh,
skipped game 4. It's cheating.
Well, game 3 went to the Lords, game 4 went to the Lords, game 5 we pull up, and that one was really cool. Fluffy really started. Wrote down the word showing out. That's how I would say it. Performing is a better way to describe it. Fluffy really started performing. Can you guys agree with that? Fluffy was definitely like kind of late game for this whole ordeal.
I wouldn't see. It's hard to make the discussion because late game they lost. Like they lost the series. it's kind of hard to say whether or not he was popping off because at the end of the day, if you really are popping off, you get that W.
Hmm.
I think he had a really strong game, and I think the fact that he had not his starting lineup, not what he's used to playing with at the very least in his starting lineup, that probably threw off rotations a bit.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if I'd say it was like him showing out towards the end of the game just because they lost. Like it's hard to say anybody's going off when you lose.
No, of course. Game 5 was Valaris with a 5, and then the Lords with a 3. Then we'll just move on to Game 6, and then after that, it's just gonna be Game 7. Game 6, they actually went into overtime. Game 6 was my favorite game for this Valaris versus the Lords. Game 6 was my favorite because the whole game, all the way down to the last second, was 0-0, and then they brought it into overtime.
Did we lose him again?
No, he's still here.
No, it's
I apologize,
Wait.
my controller turned off. Um,
Okay. I was like,
You actually
yeah,
have
so
99 problems.
nah, I know, right?
and a controller ain't one. Ha!
oh my.
Oh my God.
Alright, I'm
Nah,
out.
but
See you guys.
the overtime was brought up to 3 minutes, so it was basically an 8-minute match, and the deciding factor was Bubba blocking a shot and the Lords having an entirely open goal for the ball to be launched entirely across the field off that block. Almost, I guess you could use the word luck. You know, it was definitely amazing to watch it. Well, what do you think, Slayer?
Uh, as luck is a good word to use in Rocket League. That's kind of the nature of like your 50-50s. So it is sometimes just luck. I just don't like using that term per se in any type of competitive sport because it takes away a little bit from like, oh, you just got lucky. That's why you got that dub. I think so. I don't want to. I don't want to use that. I just don't want to say it was lucky. That's where my stance is
How
on it.
about the word calculated?
Yeah,
That's
I'll
fair.
go. It was
It's
very calculated.
I can agree with that. It was nail biting. 0-0 the whole game, and then 3 minutes of overtime. That's ridiculous. I've never seen that. Genuinely.
Both teams
Um,
just had a really good feel for each other.
no, of course. Game. So that W went to Valaris. I apologize. Game 7. That was the end of that. That was it. Went in overtime again. I thought that was pretty interesting. Uh, if it weren't for Bubba, Chris and I actually would have secured the W at the very last second. But because of Bubba, he blocked the shot. They went into overtime, and then Bubba gets the second overtime goal of this game, winning Valaris with 2-1 against the Lords. For real though, Game 6 was my favorite. Um, the Lords really had their rotations down. Valaris kind of started out slow when it came to their rotations. Chris and I was definitely a hard carry, not taking away from any of the Lords, but Chris and I was out there, you know what I mean? Tayfish and Scotties definitely were the deciding factor for Valaris. Whenever you think about Valaris, you obviously think about Bubba, but it came down to Tayfish and Scotties really supporting Bubba for that W. And it was definitely a lot of close games, close calls. You know what I mean? And 2 overtimes was pretty cool. Do you guys have anything to say on that?
Shall I remove
Uh,
them from your
that
friends list?
that covers most of my thoughts so far.
Yeah, I mean, like, the Lords is a good team, but now they're just sort of all gone. Who knows what's gonna happen now?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how the team rebuilds next season. You're still uncommitted to signing with a team, right, Nick?
Yup.
You could end up with the Lords. Who knows?
I mean, I could.
Good. No, that's really cool. Do you guys have
Confirmed
any
endgame.
confirmed anything? Now that was it. So moving on to the Cleety Cup is RGB versus Valaris. Do you guys have any predictions for the Cleety Cup? I guess we'll start with you, Slayer.
Ooh, I don't want to make any predictions, but if I must, because I will.
Almost no sport in it.
So both teams have some serious momentum going in. First off, let me just put that out there. Uh, I'd have to, and like this is no knock to Valeris, but I'd have to give it to RGB for the simple fact that Ronska has been here before. I think there's a maybe it doesn't affect everybody the same, but I definitely think that him having the experience of being in this situation, you know what I'm saying, in a final situation, will help get the W. The fact that Valeris doesn't have their captain and they're relying on Bubba, and again, that's no diss to Valeris for any of that. They can't really help any of that. But that's gonna be the difference maker. I think the fact that Ronska's been here, he's been in the league now longer than everybody else for the most part. He's been a captain. He's been in the finals. A lot of experience, a lot of veteran leadership that he's gonna bring, and that's probably what's gonna make the difference, in my opinion.
Now, now that it just comes down to Valaris versus RGB, could you say that there were any sleepers or MVPs with this whole season 2 that need to be brought up?
Ooh. I'm gonna pass that one to Panda.
Why me?
This man's about to vote for himself.
No. I think one person too that doesn't get enough credit is Skrilla, just because, just knowing him, because me and him are friends before the league. He's tough on himself. You know, he doesn't really think highly of his play. He did well. It's true because I think he's a great, solid Rocket League player. But every game, like he makes a mistake, he's tough on himself. But as far as like a sleeper, I think he's, you know, definitely in that category because I mean, hey, they played Nick. I mean, they played you, Nick, and you guys didn't know what to expect. And I just think he's one of the more faster players out there in the league, and he just doesn't give himself enough credibility to have the confidence in. But yeah, that's my pick as far as the sleeper.
You know, I agree with
And then
Panda's pick.
from Valaris, from Valaris, I'd have to pick Scott is because I had no clue how he played, and then watching him play against the Lords, I was like, oh, that's surprising, and he did really good, really well.
Yeah, I
And
definitely
do you have
agree
anything
with
to
it
say on
being
that, Nick?
Skrilla.
But I mean, as for like the two teams that are in the finals, definitely Scotty's stepped up in the semis, or the conference, or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was actually just gonna whiff everything, and when he started making shots that, you know, we've never seen him do before, he's definitely like slowly building a name for himself. So it'll be cool to see what happens going forth as to season 3.
All right. Now I got a question. Were there any surprises this whole season? Season 2, any big surprises? I guess my only real surprise was it ending up being RGB and Valaris, honestly. Starting with Panda.
Oh, sorry, me. Surprises?
No, you cool.
Yeah, throughout the season with my team, I was, you know, we were, you could tell that we were struggling a little bit. We were, you know, kind of lost. But I guess for my biggest surprise is how well we just kept going at it. Because, you know, we had a teammate quit out on us middle through the season, which kind of made our availability for players difficult. So we
Was it
really,
Nova?
between us, yeah, it was Nova.
Hate that
But
guy.
within the 5 of us, though, we all made it work, and we always made
Mhm.
sure that we stuck with it. Just so I was really surprised to see that everyone stuck with it, and brought some happiness to my heart.
Now, what about you, Nick? Anything surprise you?
Well, I mean, like, where's Cryptic?
Oh my god.
That too. Oh man, that's crazy what happened to that man.
That's
Where's
wild.
Cryptic? I mean, I'd be like, where's Full Senders? Like, what happened to that?
Whoa.
Big
What's
oof.
near? Mr. Silver 2's out here BM and full senders.
Yo, bro. At the end of the day, I don't like. You don't need you don't need a degree in anything to see 9-1 should be 3-7. That's all I'm saying. That should be easy.
Whoa. I mean, like, Panda's in the party, and are you saying that they should have lost?
I mean, if you're talking about just like the numbers, if I'm just running the numbers and only the numbers.
Yeah, but the numbers don't matter. This is a game of, like, skill. I mean, if they have a bad day, they have a bad day.
I mean, yeah, but
RGB took advantage of it.
Yeah, so that's a bad day. Though.
Yeah.
The numbers don't back up a bad day, which is what I'm getting at here. Like, just from purely the numbers, like, RGB should not have won. The fact that they got a sweep on Full Senders, like, whew, that was the surprise. And I picked them to win, and that was still surprising.
I mean, like, if that's the case, like, where's the Lords at then?
Oh, same thing. Yeah, same thing. But at that point though, I don't know. Like it didn't have as much shock because we already had the shock from RGB and Onslaught. Yeah, a little bit on RGB and Full Senders. Trachtenberg and Onslaught, both really tight games. RGB's not really tight with the sweep, but Trachtenberg had the really tight game. Both of those games had a lot of shock value, clutch shots, major sweep. I think it kind of just affected. You're kind of looking at, you're like, maybe they will lose. You know, maybe Valeris does pull out the win. So I think Valeris versus the Lords had a little bit of its shock value taken away just from how strong the other conference went.
No, that's interesting. Did you have any surprises to add on before I move on to like our second last question, Slayer?
No.
All right. Any shout-outs? Y'all got any shout-outs for anybody? I want to shout out Panda for correcting me on RG's pronunciation of his name. I want to shout out Skrilla. I want to shout out Fluffy for being some good old players for these two games. Y'all got any shout-outs? What about you, Nick? You first.
I mean, like, I actually have to give a shout out to, like, the guy who never plays on my team. Harden the Paint literally was available every day. And, like, the man, he doesn't expect to be put in because obviously he's, like, the lowest rank on our team. But, like, he's always down to learn, and, like, he's always trying to play with David and I, or Alpha and I, anyone that wants to come play, just because he wants to see what he can improve on. And, like, it takes big balls to say, yo, I'm bad, but I want to learn.
No, I can agree with that. And you, Panda?
Well, obviously I'd like to. You know what? I'll shout out Skrill. Get some confidence, man. You're better than you think.
Yeah.
And then shouting out Balt, because as far as improvement in the season, I think he's the most improved out of the whole team.
That's awesome. I like to hear that, especially from like up and coming captain. Paying attention to who's most improved. All right. Well, that concludes it for Thursday's thoughts. DM me at Danger Ranger. DangerRanger. So it's Danger Ranger. Ranger has 2 R's. DM me with any constructive criticism for the show. Did you have anything to add, Slayer? Anything about Arc or Smite?
That's all for me.
All right. Any closing comments, Nick or Panda?
I'll be with you soon.
Yeah, it's
Good
gonna
luck
be
in
fun,
the finals, Panda.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's gonna be a fun game. I gotta make sure that the team's ready. Ronska will do that too.
No.
He does a good job at that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Play or not,
No.
I'm looking forward to it.
No, of course, of course. Yeah, I can't wait to see y'all in the finals. And Nick, we can't wait to see what team picks you up. That's it for Thursday's thoughts. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate our guest. As I said, DM me with any constructive criticism. Y'all have a good day. Goodbye, everybody.